Welcome. It's good to share this quiet space with you again. Thank you for choosing to spend your time here, allowing the world outside to soften as we begin another journey together. My name is Silas, and aboard my train, the Wanderer, I travel gently, seeking out the quiet beauty hidden within the folds of the world. My travels have recently carried me through the gentle canals of Amsterdam, the serene energy of Seoul's ancient palaces, and the quiet corners of Buenos Aires, each place leaving its unique imprint. Now, the gentle rhythm of the tracks carries me towards Italy, towards the heart of Tuscany. In the chapters ahead, we will step together into Florence, a city built of warm stone and bathed in golden light. We will wander through the Oltrarno district, listening to the quiet tapping from artisan workshops hidden down narrow lanes. We'll find moments of stillness amidst the cypress trees and weathered statues of the Boboli Gardens, feel the soft glow of sunset reflecting on the River Arno, and perhaps pause to savor the simple, rich taste of an espresso at a local bar. We'll explore not with haste, but with quiet curiosity, letting the city reveal its subtle charms. This journey, like the ones before, is an invitation to slow down. It isn't about checking sites off a list, but about noticing the small things, the texture of an ancient wall, the particular way light falls across a piazza, the quiet hum of daily life. It is about finding peace in observation, allowing the sound, sense, and sights to wash over us gently. I'll share my own reflections, the quiet thoughts that surface as I explore, hoping they offer us space for your own contemplation. So find a comfortable position. Let your breathing deepen and allow the gentle motion of the Wanderer to soothe you as we approach Florence. If you find solace and peace in sharing these quiet moments and gentle journeys, perhaps consider liking this recording or subscribing to the channel to continue traveling together. For now, let the Tuscan hills begin to appear on the horizon. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Sunlight on the Hills. The gentle, rhythmic sway of the Wanderer is a familiar comfort, a constant hum beneath the floorboards that speaks of distance covered and journeys unfolding. Outside the wide window, the landscape shifts, softening into rolling contours. Italy, Tuscany. The names themselves seem to carry a certain warmth, a promise of golden light and ancient stone. The sharp edges of previous terrains dissolve into undulating hills, draped in the varied greens of vineyards and olive groves. Dark, slender cypress trees stand like punctuation marks against the softer slopes, pointing towards a sky that holds a unique, luminous quality. I rest my head against the cool glass, letting the scenery flow past. The sunlight streaming through the window warms the polished wood of the small table beside me, illuminating the subtle grain. I lift my mug, the herbal tea inside releasing a faint, fragrant steam. It's chamomile today, chosen for its quiet presence. The taste is mild, soothing, a gentle companion to the views unfolding. Small farmhouses, built from stone the color of honey and earth, appear nestled in the folds of the hills, their terracotta roofs glowing under the afternoon sun. They seem deeply rooted, belonging entirely to this place. The train curves gently, revealing another vista. Rows upon rows of grapevines trace precise lines across the hillsides, their leaves a vibrant green. I imagine the weight of the grapes ripening, absorbing this generous sunlight. Further on, that silvery green shimmer of olive trees blankets a slope. The leaves, seeming to catch and scatter the light. There's a sense of profound stillness in the landscape even as the train moves steadily through it. It's a cultivated beauty, shaped by centuries of human hands working in harmony with the land, yet it feels utterly natural, profoundly peaceful. My thoughts drift, following the lines of the hills. There's a feeling of anticipation building softly within me, not of excitement, but of quiet curiosity. Florence awaits at the end of this line, a city famed for its art, its history, the weight of the Renaissance resting upon its stones. I wonder what quiet corners I might find there, what subtle details will catch my eye away from the grand masterpieces. Will the light feel different within the city walls? Will the Arno River murmur stories as it flows beneath ancient bridges? These questions hang gently in my mind, unanswered invitations. The rhythm of the wheels on the track continues its steady clickety-clack, clickety-clack. It's a sound that has become the backdrop to my life, a lulling percussion that grounds me even as I move across continents. Inside my carriage, the familiar scent of old wood and leather mingles faintly with the scent of my tea. I trace the rim of the warm mug with my finger, feeling the smooth ceramic. It's these small comforts, these constants within the moving frame of the train that allow the newness outside to be absorbed gently without overwhelm. A lone bell tower appears on a distant hilltop, silhouetted against the brightening sky. It stands solitary, a quiet watcher over the valleys below. It feels like a symbol of the region enduring, simple, yet holding a deep resonance. I reach for my notebook, its worn leather cover soft beneath my fingertips, but I don't open it just yet. For now, it feels enough to simply observe, to let the images soak in unfiltered by words. The act of seeing, truly seeing, is sometimes the most profound connection. The sun dips lower, lengthening the shadows of the cypress trees, painting the hills in even warmer, richer tones. The famous Tuscan gold begins to emerge, a light that seems to emanate from the earth itself. It softens every line, enhances every color, lending a dreamlike quality to the scene. There's a palpable sense of peace settling over the landscape, a hush that seems to deepen as evening approaches. The air outside, glimpsed through the window, looks soft and inviting. Soon, the hills will give way to the outskirts of the city. The gentle rhythm of the train will slow, the sounds will change, and a new chapter will begin. But for these last moments, I remain suspended in this rolling beauty, cradled by the motion of the wanderer, watching the sunlight paint farewell masterpieces on the Tuscan hills. I breathe slowly, feeling a quiet gratitude for the journey, for the simple act of watching the world glide by. Chapter 2. Echoes Under Glass. The familiar deceleration begins, a gradual slowing of the rhythm that signals our approach. The sounds outside shift, the rural quiet giving way to a more complex tapestry of distant traffic, voices, and the occasional echoing horn. Through the window, the terracotta roofs become denser, closer together, interspersed with the larger shapes of modern buildings. We glide past industrial structures, then apartment blocks, with lines of laundry fluttering on balconies, before finally easing alongside the long platforms of Firenze Santa Maria Novella Station. With a final gentle sigh of brakes, the wanderer comes to a halt. I take a moment, feeling the stillness return. The journey's end, even a temporary one, always carries a unique feeling, a blend of arrival and transition. I gather my worn leather satchel, its weight familiar on my shoulder, containing my essentials: notebook, camera, a book, a water bottle. Then I step down from the carriage onto the concrete platform. The air feels different here, warmer, carrying a faint scent of diesel and perhaps, somewhere distant, roasting coffee. I look up. The station's main hall is vast, covered by a sweeping roof of glass and steel, a striking example of Italian modernism from the 1930s. Sunlight pours through the panes, illuminating the space below, casting long shadows from the structural beams. It feels airy, functional, a contrast to the image I hold of Renaissance Florence. Below, travelers move with purpose, pulling suitcases, checking departure boards, greeting loved ones. The sound is a busy murmur, predominantly the musical cadence of Italian, punctuated by echoing announcements. I walk slowly toward the main concourse, letting the flow carry me. My footsteps echo slightly on the polished floor. There's an energy here, but it doesn't feel frantic. People pause to talk, gesture expressively, sip coffee at stand-up bars integrated into the station structure. I observe the details, the clean lines of the architecture, the vintage-style signage, the way light reflects off the smooth surfaces. It feels efficient, yet retains a certain Italian elegance. I feel like a quiet observer dropped into the midst of this gentle bustle. Outside the station doors, the city asserts itself immediately. The sunlight feels brighter, the air warmer. Taxis wait in an orderly line. The sounds are different too. The buzz of scooters weaving through traffic, the rumble of buses, more distinct voices. Across the piazza, the facade of the Basilica of Santa Maria Novella stands, a magnificent introduction to the city's artistic heritage, its intricate marble patterns gleaming. The juxtaposition of the modern station behind me and this historic masterpiece before me is striking. I find a taxi easily, providing the driver with the address in Oltrarno written clearly on a slip of paper. He nods, his movements efficient, placing my small satchel beside me on the seat. The journey is brief, winding through streets that quickly become narrower, flanked by tall stone buildings in shades of ochre, terracotta, and pale yellow. I catch glimpses of arched doorways, heavy wooden shutters, glimpses down side alleys revealing even older structures. The city feels dense with history, layers upon layers visible in the worn stone and intricate details. We cross the Arno River over one of the bridges, not the Ponte Vecchio, but another, offering a fleeting view of the famous shop-lined crossing further downriver. The water below reflects the blue sky and the warm colors of the buildings. Then we plunge into the Oltrarno district. The streets narrow further. The atmosphere changes subtly. It feels less monumental, more intimate. Small shop signs hang above doorways, hinting at the artisan workshops within. There's a sense of neighborhood here, a lived-in quality. The taxi pulls over on a quiet, shaded street. I pay the driver, offering a simple grazie. He nods again, a quick, professional gesture. Stepping out onto the uneven cobblestones, I take a breath. The air smells faintly of dust, warm stone, and perhaps baking bread from a nearby forno. I look up at the tall, plain facade of the building where my apartment awaits. It feels unassuming, fitting perfectly into the quiet rhythm of the street. The journey from the station was short, but it feels like I've crossed into a different part of Florence's soul. Chapter 3. A Room in Oltrarno. The heavy wooden door to the apartment building closes behind me with a soft click, muffling the sounds of the street. I find myself in a cool, dimly lit entryway. A stone staircase curves upwards. My footsteps echo slightly as I ascend, my hand brushing against the smooth, worn plaster of the wall. Finding the correct apartment number, I turn the key in the lock. The door swings inward, revealing my temporary home in Florence. The first impression is one of simplicity and warmth. Sunlight streams through a tall window, illuminating the terracotta tile floor, each tile slightly uneven, worn smooth by time. The light catches the dust motes dancing in the air. Exposed wooden beams, dark with age, cross the high ceiling, adding a rustic charm. The walls are painted a soft, pale cream, letting the light and the textures of the floor and beams take center stage. It feels immediately peaceful, a quiet haven. I set my satchel down gently on a sturdy wooden table near the window. Slowly, I explore the space. It's not large, but well arranged. A comfortable-looking armchair sits in one corner, upholstered in a simple, natural fabric. A small bookshelf holds a few well-worn paperbacks in Italian and English. The main room flows into a tiny kitchenette tucked away at one end, simple but functional. Beyond that, a door leads to a small bedroom, promising quiet rest. I unpack methodically, a ritual that helps me settle into any new space. My notebook and pen find their place on the table by the window. My camera rests beside them. The few clothes I carry are folded neatly into the small wardrobe. I place my well-loved copy of Calvino's Invisible Cities on the nightstand beside the bed. Seeing these familiar objects arranged transforms the room from a rented space into my own temporary sanctuary. It's the small act of making order, of claiming a corner of the world for a short while. Returning to the main room, I draw closer to the window. It looks out not onto the main street, but onto a narrow side lane, perhaps more accurately described as an alley. Across the way, the stone wall of the opposite building rises, textured and ancient. Below, I can see a sliver of the cobblestones. There are no grand vistas here, just an intimate view of the city's fabric, the close-knit life of the Oltrarno. It feels private, secluded. I open the window slightly. The sounds filter in more clearly now. Not the roar of traffic, but softer, more distinct noises. The rhythmic tap, tap, tap of what sounds like a hammer on wood drifts from somewhere nearby, perhaps one of the artisan workshops this district is known for. Muffled voices echo briefly as someone passes below. Further away, almost subliminally, I hear the chime of church bells marking the hour. It's a gentle soundscape, the heartbeat of the neighborhood. A faint scent drifts in on the air, warm stone, a hint of dampness from the narrow lane, and perhaps the green scent of potted plants from an unseen balcony nearby. I lean my elbows on the windowsill, simply absorbing these sensory details. There's no need to rush, no agenda pressing. This arrival is about settling, breathing, allowing the place to seep in slowly. The apartment feels solid, sheltering, a place to return to after quiet wanderings. Standing here, bathed in the warm afternoon light filtering through the window, a sense of calm contentment washes over me. The journey here was smooth, the arrival gentle. This small room with its simple comforts and its connection to the quiet life outside feels right. It feels like a good place to pause, to observe, to listen. I take another slow breath, feeling the rhythm of the city begin to sync with my own. The exploration can wait. For now, The stillness is enough. Chapter 4. Artisans and Alleyways. The morning air in the Oltrarno is cool and fresh. I step out from the quiet entryway of my apartment building onto the cobblestone street. The sun hasn't fully reached the narrow lanes yet, leaving them bathed in a soft, indirect light. I start walking, with no particular destination in mind, letting intuition guide my feet through the labyrinthine streets of this historic artisan quarter. The stones beneath my worn leather shoes are uneven, smoothed by centuries of footsteps. The streets twist and turn, opening unexpectedly into tiny piazzette barely large enough for a stone bench and a small fountain, before narrowing again into shaded alleyways. The buildings rise tall on either side, their facades a tapestry of textures, rough stone, patches of faded plaster in ochre and sienna, dark wooden shutters fastened against the morning cool. Small shrines, tabernacoli, are nestled into niches in the walls, holding weathered statues or faded paintings, reminders of devotion woven into the fabric of daily life. What draws my eye most are the botteghe, the small workshops tucked away at street level. Many doors are open, inviting glimpses inside. I pause near one, the scent of wood shaving sharp and clean in the air. Inside, I see a man bent over a workbench, carefully restoring an old picture frame, his movements precise and economical. Further on, light spills from another doorway, revealing shelves lined with rolls of leather in rich browns and blacks. The distinct, earthy smell of cured hides drifts out. A craftsman is stitching a belt, his focus absolute. I keep my distance, observing quietly, not wanting to intrude. There's a deep satisfaction in witnessing this dedication to craft, these skills passed down through generations, still practiced with care in the heart of the modern city. It feels like stepping back slightly in time, yet it's also vibrantly present. These are not museum pieces, they are working shops, integral parts of the neighborhood's rhythm. I notice the tools hanging neatly on walls, the worn surfaces of workbenches, the quiet intensity of the artisans. I pass a bookbinder's shop, the window displaying beautifully bound volumes with marbled paper covers. Inside, stacks of paper and presses hint at the intricate process. Then, a ceramicist's studio, shelves filled with hand-painted plates and bowls in traditional Florentine designs. The colors are bright, cheerful against the muted tones of the stone walls outside. Each doorway offers a small window into a world of focused creation. It makes the walk feel like a slow treasure hunt, discovering these pockets of skill and artistry. Finding myself in a slightly wider street, I notice a small cafe, just a couple of tables outside on the narrow pavement. It seems quiet, frequented by locals. I decide to pause, taking a seat at one of the small metal tables. Ordering a simple cafe lungo, I watch the street life unfold. An elderly woman carefully waters potted plants on her windowsill above. Two neighbors stop to chat briefly, their gestures animated. A delivery bicycle rattles over the cobblestones. It's a gentle flow, unhurried, ordinary. The coffee arrives in a small, thick ceramic cup. It's strong, aromatic, intensely flavorful. I sip it slowly, savoring the warmth and the rich taste. Sitting here, immersed in the quiet morning activity of the Oltrarno, feels deeply peaceful. It's the Florence I had hoped to find, not the one of grand monuments thronged with crowds, but this intimate, breathing city where history and daily life intertwine seamlessly in the narrow, shaded streets. Finishing my coffee, I leave a few coins on the table and continue my wandering. The sun is higher now, casting sharper shadows, illuminating textures on the walls I hadn't noticed before, the faint lines of old brickwork beneath crumbling plaster, the intricate pattern of an iron window grill. I run my hand lightly over the cool, rough surface of an ancient stone wall as I walk. The connection feels tangible, a silent conversation with the centuries held within these stones. This slow, aimless exploration feels like the truest way to begin understanding this place. Chapter 5. Whispers in the Boboli Gardens. Leaving the dense network of Oltrarno streets behind, I pass through the imposing entrance of the Pitti Palace and enter the tranquility of the Boboli Gardens. The transition is immediate. The sounds of the city fade, replaced by the crunch of my own footsteps on the wide gravel path, the distant murmur of water from unseen fountains, and the gentle rustling of leaves overhead. The air feels cooler here, shaded by avenues of mature cypress and oak trees. The gardens unfold before me not as a single view, but as a series of reveals. Paths wind upwards, curve around sculpted hedges, and open onto terraces, offering unexpected perspectives. I walk slowly, allowing myself to be drawn towards intriguing side paths or the sound of splashing water. The scale is grand, designed centuries ago for the Medici dukes, yet there are countless intimate corners to discover. Weathered stone benches invite pauses beneath arching trees. I come across a hidden fountain, Neptune striking dramatically with his trident. The stone darkened by time and moisture. Water spills musically into the basin below, the sound echoing slightly in the enclosed space. Moss grows thick on the stone edges, softening the lines. Nearby, a statue of a Roman goddess stands silently in a niche, her features worn smooth by centuries of exposure to the elements. There's a feeling of melancholic beauty here, of nature slowly reclaiming these elaborate human creations. Choosing a path that leads uphill, I ascend gradually. The gravel shifts slightly underfoot. Sunlight filters through the canopy above, creating shifting patterns of light and shadow on the path ahead. The scent of damp earth and green foliage hangs in the air. Occasionally, I pass other visitors, but the gardens are vast enough that it often feels like I have entire sections to myself. The prevailing atmosphere is one of profound peace, a green sanctuary held within the city's embrace. Reaching a higher terrace, I find a stone bench strategically placed to offer a panoramic view. I sit, letting my gaze wander over the scene. Below, the patterned hedges and gravel paths of the garden stretch out. Beyond the garden walls, the familiar terracotta rooftops of Florence spread across the landscape, punctuated by church domes and bell towers. In the distance, Brunelleschi's magnificent dome crowns the Duomo, an iconic silhouette against the hazy blue sky. Seeing the city from this elevated green perspective offers a different understanding of its layout and scale. I sit for a long while simply observing. A small lizard darts across the warm stone beside the bench and disappears into a crack. Birds call to each other from the trees, their songs clear in the quiet air. The gentle breeze carries the faint scent of pine needles. It's moments like these moments of stillness and simple observation that feel most nourishing. There is no need to analyze or interpret, just to be present, to absorb the quiet majesty of the place. Reluctantly, I rise and continue my exploration, drawn towards a section known for its grottos. I find the Grotta di Bontalenti, its facade appearing almost melted, fantastical figures emerging from the rough-hewn stone and shell-encrusted surfaces. It's strange and captivating, a deliberate blend of the natural and the artificial, designed to inspire wonder. Peeking inside reveals cool, shadowy chambers, hinting at hidden water features and allegorical sculptures within. As the afternoon wears on, the light softens, taking on that characteristic warm Florentine glow. It filters through the leaves, turning ordinary pathways into tunnels of dappled gold. The shadows lengthen, adding depth and mystery to the sculpted landscapes. I find myself walking slower still, reluctant to leave this peaceful enclave. The Boboli Gardens feel like a place where time moves differently, measured not in hours, but in the slow growth of trees and the gradual weathering of stone. It's a perfect counterpoint to the vibrant energy of the city just beyond its walls. Chapter 6. Colors of Sant'Ambrogio. The morning sun climbs higher, warming the air as I approach the Mercato di Sant'Ambrogio. It's less imposing than the Mercato Centrale, known for being more of a local affair. Already the sounds are different, a lively but manageable hum of conversation, the rhythmic chopping of vegetables, the occasional cheerful call of a vendor. The market spills out from a covered hall onto the surrounding piazza, blurring the lines between indoors and outdoors under colorful awnings. I step into the gentle flow of shoppers, mostly locals with bags, moving with familiar ease. My eyes are immediately drawn to the colors. Stalls overflow with fresh produce, arranged with an unconscious artistry. Deep red sun-ripened tomatoes sit beside glossy purple aubergines and bright green bundles of herbs, basil, parsley, rosemary, their scents mingling in the air. Zucchini blossoms, delicate and yellow, are piled carefully next to knobbly green zucchini. Lemons, large and fragrant, glow like captured sunlight. It's a vibrant palette, nature's bounty, displayed with simple pride. I pause before a stall piled high with artichokes, their intricate layered structure fascinating. Moving slowly, I drift toward the covered section. Here the atmosphere shifts slightly. The light is dimmer, filtered through high windows. The sounds are more contained, the clatter of scales, the sharp slice of knives through cheese, the lower murmur of negotiation. The air carries different scents, the salty tang of olives and cured meats, the earthy aroma of aging cheeses, the metallic hint of fresh fish laid out on ice. Butchers in white aprons chat with customers as they prepare cuts of meat with practiced skill. I observe the interactions. An elderly woman carefully selects tomatoes, discussing their merits with the vendor. A baker arranges loaves of crusty bread, the warm, yeasty smell irresistible. There's a comfortable familiarity in the exchanges, a sense of community woven into the daily ritual of buying food. It feels less like commerce and more like a conversation. I watch a cheesemonger offer a sliver of pecorino on the tip of his knife for a customer to taste, their brief exchange punctuated by nods and smiles. I find myself drawn to a stall selling fruit. Peaches, blushed pink and gold, nestle softly beside dark purple plums. Figs, plump and yielding, promise sweetness within. I decide to buy something simple. Pointing to a particularly perfect-looking peach, I offer a quiet uno per favore. The vendor, a woman with kind eyes and flour dusting her apron, selects it carefully, weighs it on an old brass scale, and hands it to me with a warm smile. The simple transaction feels pleasant, grounding. Holding the peach, its skin slightly fuzzy and warm from the sun, I continue my slow walk through the market. I notice the textures, the rough rind of a melon, the smooth skin of peppers, the woven baskets holding beans. I listen to the blend of sounds, the Italian chatter, the rumble of carts, the distant clang of a church bell. It's a symphony of everyday life, lively but not overwhelming when taken in slowly, piece by piece. Leaving the main bustle, I find a quieter corner near the edge of the piazza. I sit on a low stone step, warmed by the sun. Carefully, I bite into the peach. The flavor explodes in my mouth, sweet, juicy, tasting intensely of summer. Juice runs down my chin, and I wipe it away with the back of my hand, feeling a simple, childlike pleasure, eating this perfect fruit, surrounded by the gentle energy of the local market, feels like a moment of pure connection to this place. Finishing the peach, I wrap the stone in my handkerchief to discard later. I sit for a few more minutes, just watching, listening, absorbing the atmosphere. The Sant'Ambrogio Market isn't just a place to buy food, it's a living, breathing part of the neighborhood, a place where the colors, scents, and sounds of Florence come together in a vibrant yet fundamentally gentle tapestry. It's a reminder that beauty and connection can be found in the most ordinary of daily rituals. Chapter 7. Golden Hour on the Arno. As the afternoon begins to wane, I find myself drawn towards the River Arno. The intense heat of the day is softening, and a gentle breeze begins to stir, carrying the scent of the water in the city. I walk along the Lungarno, the wide stone embankment that follows the river's course. The pavement beneath my feet is smooth, worn by countless footsteps over the years. The low stone wall bordering the river feels solid and cool to the touch. The light is beginning its magical transformation. The harsh glare of midday gives way to warmer, softer tones. The buildings lining the opposite bank, tall, narrow structures painted in shades of ochre, rose, and pale yellow, seem to glow from within. Their reflections shimmer and distort gently on the surface of the Arno, the colors deepening as the sun descends. The river itself, often a murky green or brown during the day, now takes on hues of gold and soft violet. I walk slowly without any particular destination. Other people are strolling, two couples, hand in hand, families enjoying the cooler air, individuals pausing to gaze at the view. The pace is leisurely, contemplative. The sounds are softer here than in the city center, the gentle murmur of the river, distant traffic sounds muffled by the distance, snippets of conversation from passers-by, the occasional cry of a gull circling overhead. Further along, the Ponte Vecchio comes into view. From this distance, the shops clinging to its sides look like charming, haphazard additions, their tiny windows catching the golden light. I don't feel the need to join the crowds thronging the bridge itself. Observing its iconic form from afar, bathed in this beautiful light, feels more peaceful, more fitting for my mood. It stands as a timeless link between the two sides of the city, a testament to centuries of Florentine life centered around this river. I find an empty stone bench set back slightly from the main walkway, shaded by a plane tree whose leaves are beginning to show the first hints of autumn gold. I sit, resting my hands on my knees, and simply watch. The sun continues its slow descent toward the horizon, hidden now behind the buildings to the west. But its effects are painted dramatically across the sky. Above, the river streaks of orange, pink, and soft purple blend seamlessly, reflected in the water below, creating a double spectacle. The air grows cooler, I pull my light jacket a little closer. The sounds seem to soften further as dusk approaches. The flow of the Arno seems almost hypnotic, a constant, steady movement carrying secrets downstream. I think about the countless sunsets this river has witnessed, the generations of Florentines who have walked this same embankment, perhaps feeling a similar sense of peace and wonder at the day's end. There's a profound connection to time in moments like these. A small boat drifts slowly down the river, its oars dipping quietly into the water, leaving gentle ripples in its wake. It looks serene, perfectly attuned to the calming atmosphere of the evening. Watching it glide past, I feel a sense of tranquility settle deep within me. The beauty is overwhelming yet gentle. It doesn't demand attention. It simply unfolds, offering itself freely to anyone who pauses to observe. As the last sliver of intense color fades from the sky, leaving behind a soft, dusky glow, the first lights begin to appear along the Lungarno and on the bridges. They twinkle across the water, adding a new layer of quiet magic to the scene. I remain on the bench for a while longer, letting the transition from day to night complete itself. The golden hour on the Arno is more than just a beautiful sight. It's a feeling, a moment of profound peace where the city seems to exhale, settling into the quiet embrace of evening. Chapter 8. Espresso Frescoes. Seeking refuge from the lingering afternoon warmth and the flow of people on the main streets, I find myself drawn towards the Basilica di Santa Trinita, nestled near the Arno. Its facade is elegant but relatively understated compared to some of Florence's more famous churches. Pushing open the heavy wooden door, I step inside, and the outside world immediately falls away. Cool, dim air envelops me, carrying the faint, sweet scent of old wood, stone, and perhaps lingering incense. My eyes take a moment to adjust to the lower light levels. The interior is spacious, with soaring arches and pillars leading toward the distant altar. Sunlight streams through high windows, illuminating patches of the stone floor and catching the dust motes floating gently in the air. Unlike the Duomo or Santa Croce, there are only a few other people here, moving slowly or sitting quietly in the pews. The predominant sound is silence, a deep, resonant quiet that invites contemplation. I walk slowly down the side aisle, my soft footsteps barely registering. My gaze is drawn upwards to the frescoes adorning the Sassetti Chapel. They depict scenes from the life of St. Francis, painted by Ghirlandaio in the late 15th century. Even in the dim light, the details are remarkable expressive faces, intricate backgrounds depicting contemporary Florentine life woven into the biblical scenes. I stand for a long time just looking, not trying to analyze the art history, but simply absorbing the beauty and the devotion captured in the painted plaster. There's a profound sense of peace within these walls. The coolness of the stone, the hushed atmosphere, the soft light filtering through stained glass, it all combines to create a sanctuary from the bustle outside. It's a reminder of the layers of history and faith that underpin this city, often hidden just behind unassuming facades. I find a wooden pew toward the back, sit down, and simply rest in the stillness, letting the quiet seep into me. My breathing slows, my mind clears. After some time feeling restored by the quietude, I slip back out into the Florentine afternoon. The contrast is immediate, the warmth, the brighter light, the sounds of the city rushing back. Feeling the need for a different kind of ritual, I walk a few blocks until I spot a small, traditional bar. It's narrow, with just a polished zinc or marble counter and barely any room to sit, designed for the Italian custom of taking coffee standing up. I step inside. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee is rich and invigorating. A couple of locals are already at the counter, exchanging brief words with the barista while quickly sipping their espressos. The barista, efficient and focused, operates the large, gleaming espresso machine with practiced movements, grinding beans, tamping the coffee, locking the portafilter, the hiss and gush of hot water forcing its way through the grounds. It's a swift, precise choreography. I order an espresso, un café per favore. The barista nods, prepares it in moments, and places the small, thick ceramic cup and saucer on the counter before me. There's a tiny spoon and a small glass of water alongside it. I add half a teaspoon of sugar, stirring it quickly. The ritual feels both mundane and significant. Lifting the small cup, I take a sip. The espresso is intensely flavored, hot, strong, slightly bitter, but with a deep roasted richness. It's a jolt of warmth and energy, gone in just 2 or 3 sips. I stand at the counter for a few moments longer, observing the flow. People come in, order, drink quickly, exchange a few words, pay and leave. It's a brief pause in their day, a functional social ritual, yet delivered with a certain inherent style. There's no lingering, no settling in for hours. It's about the coffee itself, the quick boost, the brief interaction. Finishing my espresso, I place the correct coins on the counter with a quiet grazie and step back out onto the street, the rich taste lingering on my palate, feeling strangely refreshed by both the quiet contemplation of the church and the quick, intense ritual of the coffee bar. Chapter 9, Farewell to Warm Stone. My time in Florence is drawing to a close. This morning, I take a final slow walk through the familiar streets of the Oltrarno. The air is fresh, carrying the scent of baking bread from a nearby forno. The sunlight, still low in the sky, angles down the narrow lanes, illuminating the textures of the ancient walls, the rough-hewn blocks, the patches of ochre plaster, the cool gray of the pietra serena stone used for doorways and window frames. This Warm Stone of Florence, it truly defines the city's visual character, absorbing and reflecting the light in such a unique way. I pause in a small, quiet piazza I discovered a few days ago. A simple stone fountain murmurs in the center, the water catching the morning light. Pigeons peck at the cobblestones. A few locals cross the square on their way to work or errands, nodding familiar greetings to each other. I sit on a stone bench, the same one I've sat on before, feeling the coolness of the stone seep through my trousers. I'm not looking for anything new today. I'm simply absorbing the familiar, etching the feeling of this place into my memory. I think back over the past days, the vibrant colors of the Sant'Ambrogio Market, the peaceful expanse of the Boboli Gardens, the golden light on the Arno at sunset, the quiet reverence within Santa Trinita, the lively buzz of the Espresso bar, the glimpses into artisan workshops. Each memory is tied to a sensory detail, the taste of the peach, the scent of old wood, the sound of water, the feel of warm stone under my fingertips. Florence revealed itself gently, not in grand pronouncements, but in these subtle accumulated moments. Reluctantly, I rise from the bench and head back towards my temporary apartment. The sounds of the Oltrarno follow me, the tapping hammer from a workshop, the cheerful call of a vendor setting up his stall, the distant chime of bells. These sounds have become a familiar backdrop, a gentle urban soundscape I've grown accustomed to. Reaching my building, I take one last look up and down the quiet street before stepping inside. Back in the apartment, the packing begins. It's a quiet, methodical process. I fold my few clothes neatly, place my notebook and camera carefully into my worn leather satchel. There's a certain melancholy that always accompanies departure, even when looking forward to the continuation of the journey. Leaving a place means leaving behind the specific rhythm you found there, the temporary routines, the small discoveries. It's a necessary part of travel, this letting go. As I close my satchel, my eyes fall on a small, smooth gray stone I picked up near the Arno a few days ago. It's unremarkable, just an ordinary river stone, but holding it connects me back to that peaceful evening walk along the water. I hesitate for a moment, then slip it into a side pocket of the bag. A tangible piece of Florence, a small anchor, from memory. It feels right. I take a final look around the apartment, the terracotta floor warmed by the sunlight, the wooden beams overhead, the window looking out onto the narrow lane. It has been a good haven, a peaceful base from which to explore. I run my hand one last time over the cool, smooth wood of the table by the window, a silent thank you to this space that sheltered me. With my satchel on my shoulder, I lock the apartment door behind me, the click echoing softly in the stairwell. Descending the stone steps, I step back out into the Florentine sunlight. The warmth on my face feels like a farewell embrace from the city. It's time to head towards the station, towards the familiar comfort of the wanderer, carrying the essence of Florence, its warm stone, its golden light, its quiet artistry within me. Chapter 10. The city fades. Back within the familiar embrace of the wanderer, I settle into my usual seat by the window. The train carriage feels like home, the scent of aged wood and leather, the soft upholstery of the armchair, the gentle hum that underlies everything. Through the large window, the platform of Firenze Santa Maria Novella bustles with quiet activity, passengers finding their trains, station staff moving purposefully, the low rumble of announcements in musical Italian. There's a gentle jolt, a slight metallic sigh, and the train begins to move. Slowly at first, gliding almost imperceptibly away from the platform. The station architecture slides past the clean lines, the glass panels reflecting the sky. Then, we are moving more steadily, the rhythmic clickety-clack of the wheels on the tracks resuming its comforting cadence. The sounds of the station fade, replaced by the familiar sounds of the journey. I watch as the outskirts of Florence glide by. Buildings become less dense, interspersed with patches of green, industrial areas, railway sidings. Then, rising above the jumble of rooftops, unmistakable even from a distance, is Brunelleschi's dome. The Duomo stands majestic, a terracotta crown on the city catching the morning light. It seems to watch over Florence, a symbol of its enduring spirit and artistic heart. I keep my eyes fixed on it as it grows smaller, a final iconic image of the city. Leaning my head back against the seat, I close my eyes for a moment, letting the images of the past few days drift through my mind. The vibrant market stalls, the serene gardens, the glowing sunset over the river, the cool shadows in the church, the texture of warm stone. Florence. The city offered its beauty generously, revealing quiet corners and subtle moments alongside its grand masterpieces. It was a gentle immersion, leaving behind a feeling of warmth and quiet appreciation. I opened my eyes again, The dome is barely visible now, merging with the distant skyline. The landscape is changing, opening up. The dense urban fabric gives way to glimpses of rolling hills dotted with cypress trees and olive groves. Tuscany unfolds outside the window once more, looking different now, seen through the lens of having visited its heart. The connection feels deeper, the landscape imbued with the memory of the city it cradles. I reach into my satchel and retrieve my notebook, its pages filled with observations and sketches from Florence. I don't open it immediately, just rest it on my lap, the worn leather familiar beneath my hand. There will be time later to revisit those notes, to translate the experiences into words or images. For now, it feels more important to simply be present in this transition, carrying the feelings and sensations with me. The small, smooth stone from the Arno presses faintly against the side of the bag, a quiet reminder. The train picks up speed, settling into its long-distance rhythm, the gentle sway, the steady sound of the wheels, the soft hum of the engine. It all combines into a soothing lullaby of travel. This space, the wanderer, is my constant companion, the vessel that carries me between worlds, offering comfort and continuity. It's a place for reflection, for processing the impressions gathered, for anticipating peacefully what lies ahead. Staring out at the passing Tuscan landscape, bathed now in the clear morning light, I feel a sense of quiet gratitude. Gratitude for the journey, for the beauty encountered, for the simple peace found in observation. Florence has left its mark, another layer added to the tapestry of places experienced. The warm stone of the city remains a warm memory, carried forward as the train travels onward towards the next unseen horizon, the next quiet discovery.